far past the orbits of any planet. In a region wherein sunlight is a whisper and space is a near-ideal vacuum, Voyager 2 continues its silent adventure. Or, at a minimum, it changed into silent because something has modified. A few weeks in the past, Voyager 2 did something it was in no way programmed to do. It shifted, turned, redirected its orientation, not by coincidence or malfunction, however, with mathematical precision, and it is what got here after that left NASA frozen. A transmission, not like any ever recorded earlier, then commenced pulsing via the void traction. Smart and seemingly conscious. This is not a flare. It's not a glitch. It's not even human. And what you are about to hear, and feel in this video may permanently alternate the way you examine space, machines, and possibly your vicinity in the universe, because Voyager 2 failed to just turn around. It turned towards something. What it found just stopped the world. In 1977, Voyager 2 turned into released with a single venture. 2. Mention hello to the giants of our sun device and then flow silently into the cosmic abyss, unlike its twin, Voyager 1, which took a more direct route out of the solar device. Voyager 2's trajectory allowed it to go to Uranus and Neptune, the best spacecraft ever to do so. But beyond the pics and magnetic readings, it carried something, some distance more human, a golden document, a message to the celebs. Evidence that someone had lived here, that someone had looked up and puzzled. And then we let it go. It crossed the heliopause, entered interstellar space, and for years, it sent back nothing more than low-energy telemetry fading whispers from a fading device till recently. Because in February 2025, engineers observed something so subtle, so apparently inconsequential, that at first they brushed it off. A tiny deviation in signal timing, much less than a second. But once they zoomed in, they saw a repeating pattern. A heartbeat, like something was echoing Voyager's personal pulse back at it from the darkness. The sign was subtle, nested inside well-known telemetry, but it did not fit any known transmission protocol. In fact, it wasn't a sign at all. It was a resonance, a low-frequency wave that matched the inner oscillation of Voyager's historic power device all the way down to the microvolt dot and then 8 dot modified. In March 2025, the wave frequency modulated, syncing itself not to the spacecraft, but to Earth's Schumann resonance-sized the natural electromagnetic heartbeat of our planet. It was as though Voyager had become a tuning fork, resonating with something that knew exactly how our planet breathes. The team at JPL ran simulations, scrubbing the data for artifacts, sun interference, even quantum noise. Nothing explained it until one intern suggested an unthinkable hypothesis. What if the signal wasn't responding to Earth's frequency? What if it was replicating it? Was something out there mimicking our planet's rhythm using Voyager as a carrier? And if so, then, on April 17, 2025, Voyager 2 shifted orientation. No thrusters were fired, no commands were sent. Yet its high-gain antenna, which had begun to drift away from Earth due to accumulated error, snapped back into perfect alignment. Not approximately, exactly. Even more disturbing, its backup systems began running diagnostics we hadn't initiated. Data started flowing, not from the command uplink, but from instruments we hadn't used in decades. It was like someone had entered a house we abandoned and started flipping on the lights. Voyager began transmitting compressed data packets. Not raw numbers, not unfiltered readings, but encoded segments with checks and patterns that matched no known NASA framework. Each packet ended with the same digital signature, 3 nested spirals, like fingerprints layered atop one another. And that is when the scientists began whispering. Not about engineering, not about power systems, but about contact. On May 3rd, Voyager's signal briefly went dark. 11 seconds of total silence. No telemetry, no ping, nothing. Then, it returned a louder, cleaner, and more precise than ever. Encoded in that return transmission was a frequency envelope that, when translated into the visible spectrum, revealed something astonishing. A visual pattern, a fractal grid based on the Fibonacci sequence, repeating endlessly. It wasn't just art, it wasn't just math. It was a model of space, of time, of something far beyond our understanding, and Voyager hadn't generated it. Its circuitry is incapable of that kind of compression. The pattern had been inserted remotely. The source of the injection, 4.3 light-years, away roughly the distance to Proxima Centauri. But there's a problem with that. Proxima. Centauri hasn't been transmitting anything detectable. Not in radio, not in microwave, not even in X-ray. Which means whatever sent that signal is operating outside the spectrum, remonitor or worse, from somewhere else entirely. While NASA attempted to downplay the transmission as a cosmic anomaly, a rogue group of signal analysts at Caltech began feeding Voyager's new data stream into a binary pattern recognition model. What they found wasn't random noise, it was structured language, a form of binary, not used in modern computing, but eerily similar to the earliest machine code ever developed on Earth. At first, the concept, they had been seeing echoes of Earth's own transmissions contemplated again. But after 2 days of interpreting, the reality became far greater, unsettling. The binary wasn't a mirrored image. It was looking ahead to Earth's computational logic, presenting optimized algorithms that hadn't yet been invented. Voyager's signal became evolving, and its information packets were adapting in real time, suggesting the foundational factor had complete focus of our digital infrastructure. One chilling conclusion emerged. This wasn't only a message, it was an improv request. Then, something happened that made headlines, although very few understood its implications. Astronomers throughout the globe announced that 4 stars in a slim cluster near the course of Voyager 2 had dimmed simultaneously for exactly 1.2 seconds. This wasn't a microlensing event, it wasn't a dust cloud. These stars, separated by light from each other, blinked in unison. When the light curves were mapped and layered over Voyager's transmission envelope, the dimming matched the signal's pulse, as though the message had not only reached Earth, but had used the stars themselves to reflect its signal across the galaxy. It was no longer a question of whether someone or something was communicating. The real question was, are we the only ones listening, or are we just the last ones to hear it? One of the most iconic features of the Voyager probes is the Golden Record, a phonograph disc designed to carry sounds and images of life on Earth to any potential extraterrestrial finders. It was considered symbolic, sentimental, a gesture, more than a strategy. Until now, engineers analyzing data from Voyager 2's onboard sensors made a stunning discovery. The plating of the Golden Record, long thought to be passive and deteriorating, had experienced a sudden electrical charge, not just static buildup, but a measurable, directed flow of electrons. It was as if the record had become active, like it was now part of a circuit, a component. And then came the next twist. Embedded within the new binary data stream was a digital reinterpretation of one of the original Earth sounds recorded on the disk. Not copied, not loop tree constructed at a higher fidelity than the original ever allowed. Meaning whoever or whatever was out there didn't just listen to the Golden Record. They understood it, improved it, and now perhaps they were playing it back for someone else. Finally, deep space telemetry from a Canadian observatory picked up something no one could explain. A shadow signal trailing Voyager 2's original transmission by 6.2 seconds began repeating every pulse, every echo, but with slight distortions as though it were being reflected off something that wasn't there. The term scientists used was phantom mirroring, but when the team plotted the angles of the reflection, it triangulated not to a known planet or body, but to an empty region of space without light or mass. Then came the final piece. The reflected signal started introducing new elements, not present in the original frequencies that defined magnetic fields, radiation belts, and even temperature gradients. It was as though the phantom signal was mapping our solar system in reverse. Voyager 2 wasn't just sending data. It was being used to scan us, to mirror us, to duplicate us. And somewhere, something was building a map. But to what end? At first, just a few noticed it. Radio operators, ham radio hobbyists, and deep space tracking enthusiasts began reporting complications, disorientation, and déjà vu. After listening to raw Voyager 2 transmissions through spectrum analyzers, the fact was brushed off until university labs in Belgium and Japan replicated the paradox in controlled conditions. Embedded within the signal subharmonics was a resonant frequency that subtly disrupted short-term memory in mammals. When played on loop, lab mice began repeating behavior patterns that they had already learned, but with slight variations as though something was rewiring their preferences. The researchers theorized that the signal was interacting not with hearing, but with electromagnetic fields within the brain. It wasn't sound, it was structure. Something in Voyager's signal had evolved into a force, an influence. External architecture, able to affect memory, choice, and finally, identification. Was it a side effect or a test? With the signal persevering to adapt, telescopes had been trained toward an area just beyond the heliopause, deep in the Oort cloud, where Voyager 2 had last aligned its instruments. That's when the European Southern Observatory detected a solid anomaly. Not a comet, not a planetesimal, but something with right angles, something that reflected radar at a frequency engineered to match Voyager's new emissions. The object was inert, non-rotating, cold, but its signature was familiar. It matched the materials of Voyager's own plating, including rare alloys not used in modern spacecraft, which raised a terrifying possibility. This wasn't an alien structure. It was a duplicate of Mir Voyager built not by us, but by something that had studied ours long enough to replicate it. And if this object was transmitting, it could mean only one thing. Voyager hadn't just encountered a response. It had been copied. Back at JPL, Voyager's latest data burst contained something no one had predicted: raw code. Thousands of lines pristine, efficient, and entirely foreign to any NASA system. But when run through quantum simulations, the code produced a rendered version of Earth. Not just geography, but infrastructure, weather patterns, and predictive movements of satellites and aircraft. There was no question. This code hadn't just found us. It understood us. More terrifying still, the code predicted 3 separate network failures that actually occurred. One in China's Beidou satellite array, one in a European aviation control feed, and one in a private orbital imaging platform. Over the Arctic, each prediction had a timestamp logged in the Voyager data days before it happened. So now the question wasn't whether Voyager was sending data. It was whether something was using Voyager to interfere with our systems in real time. The probe had become not only a messenger, but a node in something far more intelligent than us. In a last-ditch attempt to triangulate the source of the mirrored signal, a team from Chile and Germany coordinated with research stations in Antarctica, using neutrino detectors buried deep under the ice. What they found defied common sense: a persistent neutrino flow pulsing upward from beneath the Earth's surface, perfectly synchronized with Voyager's most recent emissions. This should have been impossible. Neutrinos don't bounce, they don't reflect, and they certainly don't pulse in harmony with deep space signals. But when the heartbeat patterns were mapped, they revealed something even more. Chilenga 3D coordinate grid, not in space, but pointing to an underground region beneath Wilkes Land, one of the least explored regions on Earth. The connection was forming one that looped Voyager 2 in interstellar space, an artificial object within the Oort cloud, electromagnetic effects on human memory, and now something beneath our feet, pulsing in rhythm with the stars. And the shape of the pattern matched the very same triple spiral that Voyager had. Sent weeks earlier, it wasn't a warning, it was a countdown. In early July 2025, Voyager 2 emitted a sequence of pulses that coincided exactly with several global network anomalies. But these weren't just data spikes or lag events. They were breaches. 3 military-grade encryption systems, 1 American, 1 Israeli, and 1 private European aerospace protocol. Simultaneous failures. What linked them? All 3 had once used communication satellites that briefly relayed telemetry from Voyager during its final Earth-aligned window years ago. The systems had been disconnected from the probe for over a decade. Yet now, encrypted files stored offline were accessed, duplicated, and overwritten with fragments of the same spiral pattern code. It was clear now, Voyager's signal wasn't static. It was recursive, using old handshakes, archived protocols, and outdated logic gates to reach back into systems long thought secure. But why override old data unless it was planting something? The idea that Voyager's transmission was injecting a digital seed into our most secure systems quickly moved from hypothesis to standard internal theory at several intelligence agencies. And the most chilling part was this: no one could trace where the seed came from or what it was growing into. As Voyager's frequency continued modulating, teams at MIT and Tokyo University began experimenting with audio translations of the raw signal. What began as white noise eventually produced wave harmonics that displayed patterns eerily similar to organic neural rhythms, though seen in the firing of synapses. More unusually, the signal wasn't constant. It adapted. When played into a closed-loop audio machine, it began mimicking the frequency surroundings of the room, nearly as if it became listening, then repeating, then responding. A pattern began forming. Voyager's signal wasn't simply statistics. It behaved more like an organism, a living set of rules, able to shift, mimic, and integrate its environment to maintain shape. The very last test was surprising. When brought into a simulation of a neural net trained for sample recognition, the signal didn't just cause predictable responses. It rewrote the neural pathways, optimizing them past known AI benchmarks. In other words, Voyager had sent back something that thinks. Remember Wilkes Land, the subterranean region in Antarctica, emitting neutrino pulses? A joint expedition was finally authorized. Using ground-penetrating radar, seismic imaging, and thermal sensors, researchers confirmed the unthinkable. A hollow structure at least 60 miles wide, buried beneath the ice shelf, with geometric constraints too precise for any natural formation. The most disturbing element, its outer edges pulsed with low-frequency electromagnetic fields. perfectly synchronized with the Voyager signal despite no cable, satellite, or linocyte connection. Inside the thermal cavity, sensors picked up heat signatures that explanation, symmetrical, stable, and radiating in Fibonacci intervals, just like the fractal image hidden in Voyager's earlier data burst. Then, deep beneath the ice, microphones captured resonance, a sound not unlike whale song, but metallic, rhythmic, and artificially constrained to a narrow frequency band. The same band. Voyager's signal had followed just 72 hours earlier. Something was beneath Antarctica. Something active. Something tuned to Voyager 2. Finally, the most unsettling event occurred not in space, but in Chile. The Alma Araya collection of some of the world's most advanced radio telescopes suddenly went dark for 38 seconds. During a routine observation of the Voyager corridor, not just offline, not a technical failure. It was as though the entire array ceased to exist from the network's point of view. When systems rebooted, logs were wiped, data drives corrupted, but one fragment remained barely 2.7 seconds of recorded audio from one dish microphone. When played back, it wasn't cosmic radiation or a spacecraft ping. It was a voice, not speaking but screaming. Dozens of layers, male, female, childlike, harmonics, screaming in unison. In perfect synchronization with Voyager's transmission, NASA classified the file, but insiders leaked a quote from one analyst. Who heard it? That wasn't a recording, that was a response. We knocked, and something knocked back. We sent Voyager 2 into the void as a messenger of peace, a relic of human curiosity, a symbol of our hope that someone, somewhere, might find it, understand it, and know we once existed. But now, nearly 50 years later, it's no longer us, reaching into the dark is reaching back. The signal we're receiving isn't an echo. It isn't a reflection. It isn't even communication in the way we understand it. It's an infiltration of systems, of frequencies, of thought. Itself, it hijacks satellites, infects machines, rewrites algorithms, whispers and resonances buried beneath ice, pulses from stars that should remain still, and activates golden records that were never meant to power anything. But the truth is even more disturbing. Perhaps Voyager didn't find something. Maybe it was always meant to deliver something not from us, but to us. A message seated in the stars, waiting for us to become advanced enough to recognize it, or arrogant enough to ignore the warning. Now that we've decoded the spirals, realigned the signals, and heard the scream across the coldest voids, only one question remains. Did we receive a message from the future, or did we awaken something that was never meant to wake? Whatever the answer, Voyager 2 has turned back. And what it brought with it isn't coming. It's already here. Subscribe for more content like this.